My name is Kevin Hall. I'm part of the talent acquisition team in Silicon Valley with ASML. I've been at ASML for about 5 years and been recruiting here in the Valley for over 20 years, building engineering groups. Um, Excited to talk to you guys today about the how to hack the technical interview.
Thank you, Kevin. Sorry, saying something? But okay. Hi, my name is Kitty DeMello. I have been with ASML almost 7 years now. I have been into hiring software and semiconductor for almost 25 years. So just been recruiting all level of candidates, right, from interns to software engineers to architects. So whole gamut of IT I have been recruiting for.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisette. I am also based in Silicon Valley as well. I am on the University Relations team as one of 3 program managers. I own our diversity partnerships. So basically all our affiliations with the Society of Women Engineers, also known as SWE, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, SHIP, and National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE. And I've recently been handed over the baton of the ownership and affiliation with San Jose State. We're happy to be here, and I'll pass it over to Kevin and Kitty.
All right. Thanks, Lizette.
Thank you, Lizette.
All right, next slide. All right, this is the presentation. But first, I want to explain to all of you, when you get invited to an interview, a technical interview, the very first thing that you should do when you get the invite from the coordinator is see everyone on the invite. Do some research on each and every individual that is on the invite for your agenda. Make sure you do some LinkedIn searches on them, find out what they are working on. Any of that information could be helpful for you during your interview. So make sure you do some research on the interviewers of the people you're going to be talking to. So during this presentation, someone like Kitty or myself will contact you and say you've been elected to interview. And along with your interview, you're going to need to develop a presentation. Usually the topic is going to be a project that you worked on, a project that you were a part of, a project that you led, or
any research work you have done.
Any research work or yourself. You're going to prepare slides. You're going to bring those to the technical presentation. And the idea of this presentation is to not only talk about what it is you do know, but how you deliver it to a small group of people. Your interviewers are going to be in this presentation. There's going to be other groups, people from other groups here to be in your presentation, and they're going to be looking at you and listening to you to see how well you're able to deliver the content.
Right, and I'll add, I have seen when, candidates are presenting, there'll be so much of material in the slides, and, we don't need so much, just highlight, and keep the other material as a talking point. Focus on the points and elaborate it, which is very important. When you have too much thing on the slide, even people who are watching, like you're just reading the slides, that doesn't give an impression. Another thing, when you're presenting, if you're in person, your dress code is very important, because that shows, of course, Bay Area, we are very informal. We don't have to really be so formal. But when you dress up formally, it gives an idea how serious you are for that job. So make sure, your presentation is as important as, you're presenting the yourself on the slides. So make sure, dress up, although the interviews, the recruiter or the interviewed panel would say that we are casual, but please make sure that you dress up formally. I don't mean like wear a tie or suited, booted, just wear a business casual when you know. It shows that your interest in the job. Okay.
Also in this presentation, make sure you allow some time for interaction. Make sure that some of the people attending your presentation are able to ask you questions, and be prepared to answer any of the questions, even if some of the questions are difficult and you can't answer, it's okay. Be honest and say you are willing to learn and pick it up.
To add, please know your subject well. If you're putting something on the slide, make sure you know what you have on the slide. So, be an SME when you're talking about things on your slide.
And an SME is your subject matter expert. Just want to make sure.
Thank you, Kevin.
We say SME here all day, every day. All right. Okay, next slide. All right. So after your presentation is complete, usually during that day, you'll take a break. Either you go have some water or a bio break. Then your one-on-one interviews will begin. You'll sit in the conference room, either one-on-one, or nowadays we do two interviewers with one interviewee. So that's a trick that we do.
Yeah.
So during this time, it's a little bit more one-on-one. You may not talk about things about your presentation. You may, or usually you won't. This is about the job you're interviewing now. So during this time, many of the questions are going to revolve around the basics of the technology. So make sure you know the basics of C programming, Linux, any technical term, just you need to know the basics of it. Many of the interviewers want to get that out of the way to make sure that you know those things, because that's going to curtail them on what they're going to ask you next. If they see you know the basics very well, then they're going to see how you apply some of that basic knowledge to some of the problems or the things that they're working on.
Yeah, also, make sure that in your interview, they may ask you to write a code if coding is important. So there are different ways how they will test your coding skills. They may just give you, a code on whiteboard and ask you to solve that, or they may use a platform known as CoderPad, or, some other coding skills to test your coding skills. So be conscious about that you may be asked. Don't be surprised, because interviewers can ask you anything. So they may ask you to solve some program, or they may show you a program that is written and ask you to find some errors. So why this program will not work. So it is not that they will ask you to do the programming, but they will show you some programming and ask you to find an error in that. So I have seen that also happening. And also, focus on your strengths, what you can do. Uh, focus. If you don't know an answer, be very, very, clear. Say, I don't know, and definitely they will, because we don't know everything. Sometimes they may ask something that you don't know, you're not aware of that. But be honest and tell them that you don't know what they're asking. Also, they will ask you some projects, how you have collaborated within your team, because collaboration is very important. They want to know how you reached out to your fellow student if you needed some help. So be prepared to work on that as well.
Yeah, just to touch base on the testing.
Yeah.
Find out beforehand when the recruiter calls you to schedule you for your interview. Ask, will there be testing involved?
Yeah.
You
We
know,
tell you where if
yeah, we'll
there's,
tell
yeah,
you,
yeah, we'll
but
tell you.
be sure to ask and be prepared. If you're on site, usually those tests can be on a whiteboard. They'll ask you to go to the whiteboard and write code, or they'll write a problem up there and ask you to solve it. If it is a virtual interview, like what we're doing, there's HackerRank and CoderPad where the interviewer can be online with the test and you'll be there doing the test and they can see what you're doing right at that point. So be prepared for that for you coders out there.
And I would add that, most important thing is show high energy. Because sometimes when you talk to the students or any, candidate, they're so in energy. Like sometimes, you have to, you know, ask them multiple times one questions, which doesn't give a good impression. Be attentive. Your body language is very important. Show a lot of affirmation, show a lot of confidence, which is what required. Most of that, I think, people make a judgment 40% when you enter a room, how confident you are. So make sure you're very confident when you're talking to people. Be attentive. Body language is very important. So, be as confident as you can when you're appearing for an on-site interview.
Yeah, that's extremely important you know how to do things, but you have to learn how to speak to
Yes.
what you do. That is very important in the technical world.
Right.
We have
Articulate. Yeah.
yeah,
Articulate everything that you have written. Make sure you articulate it well.
yeah, be able to sell yourself.
That is
You are the
what it
product,
is.
you need to sell yourself. Um, Learn to answer open-ended questions. Many interviewers will ask you, what are your strengths? Or where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Those questions come into, they want you to be able to talk about a plan. They want you to be able to talk about, where you want to be in the future, in the near future. And one trick is you want to be sure to reference the job you're talking about. You want to talk about the position you're interviewing for and where you want to take that job within 2 to 3 years. You say you aspire to be a lead in this group. You aspire to learn C sharp in programming. You want to become a SME, a subject matter expert on C programming. Those are the kind of open answers that interviewers want to hear. And things
Yeah.
like that.
I have seen when I reach out to the candidates, the first thing they'll ask, so what is the pay rate? You know, so then we feel that okay, the applicant or the candidate is more interested in knowing the salary rather than knowing a job. Um, you know, I have been hiring interns for this summer, and the minute I make a phone call, and the candidate, before even asking what type of role it is, they'll ask me, so what is your pay rate? I want to know that first. You know, I mean, of course, you will be paid. Nobody will ask you to work free, but the pay is always, uh, we all need money, we understand, but that should not be the first question you ask a recruiter when you get a call. Know about the job, know about the company, know about the role. Those are the very first important thing. And then, of course, for the right role and for the right position, we definitely, all the companies, they pay the right rate. So this is what, please avoid doing that if you're really interested in a role or in a company. So leave the pay rate, last, but make sure that you know more about the role first.
Yes, some companies would like you to work for free, but we're not one of them. Just want to get that out there and be clear. I know some companies who would like that, but for sure, during your one-on-one interviews, technical interviews with the team, salary would not come up. Usually they leave that up to us, the recruiters. So try not to talk about salary. If a recruiter, I'm not a recruiter, but if an interviewer asks you about salary, sometimes it's best to say, I'd like to discuss that with the recruiter, and you're open. So those are the things how to deal with that. But salary should not come up. This is 100% should be about your technical aptitude, how it matches with this job during your one-on-one interviews. Another thing, what you need to do is you need to know about the entire company that you're talking to. You need to reference the products. Uh, don't be afraid to ask what product line you would be working on, and go ahead and talk about other products that this position may not have that you'd like to know more about. What that does is that lets the interviewer know that you did your homework. You know what ASML is doing. You know who our customers are. You know how important this technology is. You're able to know just on the surface, what it is we do and how what you do um, in your career, what you want to do, how it matches. So make sure you do some homework and be able to speak about what ASML is doing or the company that you're interviewing with. Know what they're doing out there in the world.
Right. So coming back to the interviewer questions, so technical questions, I know we do it well because you have worked in the technology, you're learning about it, you have done projects. When it comes to the behavioral questions, please make sure to add some examples. You know, they may ask you, so which is how, they may emphasize on why questions. So always make sure you have an example for the questions to do it. So behavioral questions, it always a good idea to to make sure that you have some examples to give to the interviewer. They like that.
Yeah, that coincides with a little bit of the open-ended questions. If an interviewer asks you, "What are your strengths?" Then they'll ask you, "What are your weaknesses?" Turn it around on the interviewer. Say, I wouldn't say they're weaknesses, but they are things that I can improve on. Okay. And just be able to put out there what those technologies you want to learn more about. So they're not weaknesses. You want to learn more about them.
Yeah. Even, sometimes we are not good at presenting. Our presentation skills may not be that good. You can always tell them that, I'm still trying to hone on my presentation skills. So that, people don't take it as a negative, but definitely that is an opportunity.
So that's what the importance is of a technical interview is the basics. You know the basics of the technology you want to work on or interviewing for. Two is your collaboration with people, because there's going to be many times you're going to be working in small groups, and that's important how you interact, communicate uh, with people on your team, and cross-functional teams. You may have to work with a whole different department to get something done. And that's what the interview team is going to be establishing during that time. Are you able to go out and solve problems or get information from people who are not on your team? So that's very important. Cross collaboration is extremely important, and I think you should improve on it. If you have any doubts about yourself about that, you want to make sure you practice behavioral questions, do what you need to do to overcome that, because that's very important in the technical world. Anything else you want to add? Okay.
We'll go to the next slide.
Yep, next slide. Okay, so you have done your presentation. You've had your one-on-one interviews with about 5 to 6 different people. Um, Usually during interviews, they end it either with the manager or whoever's the last person is, during that time, you want to ask for the job. And how you ask for the job is you say, you are very happy about what you saw today, and you say about yourself, I think I can be effective in this role. That's how you ask for the job. You say you can be effective in this role. You can say that to the manager. You can say it to us as the recruiters. What that's going to do is that's going to exude confidence and let us know that you really want this job. So, anything that you want
Yeah.
to add?
So, when you're talking to the team, you should always mention, and you should have done your homework, why this job, why we should, a company should hire you. Emphasize on that what do you bring on the table, that you are a very valuable candidate or desirable candidate than the most candidates we are hiring from. Also, when you make your resume, make sure that a lot of people put a lot of things in the resume. I have seen, everything they will add. You don't have to add too many things. Just see the job description and see what is relevant for that job. Add only those skill sets what is relevant and what they want to do. People will just put, oh, I've worked on Windows, I've worked on Linux, I've put everything. We don't have so much time to go through. Trust me, the recruiters have only 20 seconds to go through a resume. So make sure you make your projects in such a way that that we get we get attracted to what you're doing or what you have done. So when you're talking to the interviewer, emphasize on that look, I have done this research work, or I have done this, I have studied about this particular technology, and bringing this technology onto this company, I can make a greater impact if I'm hired. So make it a point to tell them that why you are a different candidate, because we have each interviews, we have 10 to 15 candidates. So why do we hire you, right? So you have to give them an example why you should be hired for that particular role. So make sure you do that homework when you go for the interview.
During that time that you do that, if you don't ask for the job in one of those ways that we explained, the worst thing is when we debrief and talk about the candidates, you don't want that question about you to come up. Well, we don't know if John was interested. He didn't ask for the job. He didn't tell us how he can be an impact. So we don't know if he's that interested in this role. You don't want us to say that about you in the debrief. You want us to know that you want this job when we have our debrief about you. Let us know. Okay. Also, at the end of it, you want to make sure you talk to the recruiter, get people's emails. If you don't have the one-on-one interviewers' emails, just write a thank you note to the recruiter, and the recruiter will forward it off to the team. That's very important. That's another form of asking for the job. That lets us know that you are interested.
And as the picture shows, please have a firm handshake. That also shows, that is also very important when you meet the interviewer. Make sure, when you're going for an on-site interview, that is very critical that you give a firm handshake and eye contact.
Yeah. And if virtual, body language is important, eye contact. We can't handshake, but you can wave. Make sure you do something interactive.
Right.
Be interactive, on the virtual side as well. So I think that's it for us on that, but we want to talk about openings that we do have. It's not here on the slide, but some of the openings, I do have some openings here in Silicon Valley. They're on ASML.com under internships. We still have a few available here in San Jose. We also have positions still open in San Diego and in Wilton, Connecticut. Can you have any want to highlight?
Yes, so I have DevOps engineer, I have full stack developer. These are intern positions. If you guys are graduating in near future, maybe in May, then I have positions in optics, simulations. I have in what else? I have in OPC, that is optical proximity correction. Uh, all my positions are on the website for full time and for internship. I just saw a message, somebody said that I applied and I was turned down. So we have, each time we get like 500 applicants. And as I said, we have 20 seconds to go through the resume. So whichever resume we feel is relevant to what we are doing, we pick up those resumes, like building algorithms, people who have worked on algorithms or C++, Python, done projects on them or had some previous experience or had done some internships on those projects. So we make sure that we take the best candidate uh, uh, that is very close to what we are doing. So don't be disheartened if you are not been selected, because there's a reason. We have gone through all the resumes and then we have selected the people that are most applicable to what we are hiring for.
And don't let that stop you, because we do have other positions that come up. Right now, we're for the full-time roles for those of you who are graduating this May or June. Uh, we probably will have a lot of roles come out probably Q3 or right after the summer or during the summer. There's not a lot on there now, but they're coming. Right now, what I need in San Jose is system integration. If you go on ASML.com and look under Proto Engineer, I have two openings that I am looking for early career individuals on. So please take a look at those if you're interested in that with a background in an EE or an ME. We are taking a look at that.
Um, for the area that I'm responsible for, I mainly look for EE and CS. So those are the major things that I would be looking for.
All right. All right, that's it. We're ready for Q&A, Patrick.
Noted. I'm going to stop the screen share and hopefully relay people over to doing the Zoom call over here so I can make sure I'm recording the right things. Terrific. So a lot of the bulk of the questions that we're getting seem to be a lot of focus on the vacancies that you have available. Could you summarize again, like if students have questions about like the opportunities that you're hiring for, either like the internships that you're focusing on, or like what's like maybe like focused on the Bay Area? You said San Diego was another like local opportunity. What might be the place that we could like refer people?
On our website, we have all our positions listed on ASML website.
And you said that was at asml.com?
Yeah,
asml.com/careers.
Noted. We're getting questions about like specifics about like the types of internships. So I think if students want to know like is my major being represented, or do you have a focus on this particular area? It just seems like website.
Yes, please.
Yes, everything's on the website, what's posted. If it's posted, especially in the internships, that means we're still looking for that role. So go ahead and take a look at that and go ahead and apply, because that's everything we do is through the application. Once you apply, the manager's able to see it, just like we're able to see it. And sometimes the managers act on it and they will let us know, who to contact, who looks interesting to them. If you want to go down questions one by one, if you'd like, Patrick, we can do that, or try to
Sure.
get a few.
I'll address the individual questions about the available opportunities. One question on the subject of the interview process was, how hard would you say the coding questions are?
So the coding questions is based on on your experience or what projects you have done. So they will not ask you very complex coding questions if you are undergrad, or it will be very simple. For masters, they may go with little bit of not that. I mean, if you're a student, don't expect the coding questions to be very complex.
Okay, and I think you mentioned earlier in the presentation that like if there's a question that that someone doesn't have the answer to, the best response would be to just honestly state, I don't know the answer to the question, but to say I would here's how I would approach this.
Yes.
But does also apply to coding questions.
Correct.
Okay. Well, like I said, I'm going to go down to the list of questions regarding specific opportunities then. Industrial engineers, as well as production and manufacturing and supply chain. What areas, as far as full-time roles, internships, might students expect in that realm?
I handle industrial engineering here in San Jose. Uh, I've hired quite a bit over the last few years. Right now, there's not any opportunities open, but I do anticipate industrial engineering is going to open up sometime mid-year or later this year. We just filled 2 industrial engineering internships in the last 2 weeks. So that's why you won't see those on our website right now. Global supply chain, that's not handled by us. Uh, but if there are positions posted for global supply chain, please apply because we do an aggressive hiring on that area.
Gotcha. As a follow-up question, when these roles are available for industrial engineers, are there particular aspects or qualities that you look for in a candidate, or does it depend on the role?
Depends on the role. There's 2 areas that they work within here. There's a mechanical area, there's an electrical area. Um, Primarily, you don't have to have the industrial engineering degree for that role. Mechanical or EE role or major is fine with that. But I think it's kind of open. Again, that's a position where I've noticed during interviews, it's how well someone can collaborate with different groups in the industrial engineering role. Just know the basics of technology, but the key to that role is how you can collaborate with design engineering, metrology engineering, uh, software engineering, how you can collaborate with all of them together.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the last few questions we ask about specific like hiring areas. So after this point, I think we're going to prioritize questions that are more applicable to a broad audience. But the specific questions I'm getting are for program and project management and for chemistry,
Program
chemical
man-
engineer,
What does that say again?
chemical engineer, and program and project management. What opportunities could students look out for?
Yeah, project management. One just came open just 2 days ago, but it's a higher grade. Yeah,
You need a lot of
yeah,
experience.
a lot of experience. Someone with at least 5 to 7 years of experience in the project management role. They tend to look for. Chemical engineering have not. That hasn't been a suit for us on the chemical side. So I couldn't speak to that.
Thank you. Looking again.
So in my experience, adding to this question, I have not seen we hiring new new grad for a project management role. We always have hired with experience, like at least minimum 3 to 4 years of experience into PMP project management.
I'm seeing a question in the chat that's, I think, a good question for general. Do you have interview tips for candidates who might be neurodivergent? And we could expand the question to include different disabilities of different sorts as well, if we want.
Disability, yeah, we do make we do make arrangement if there is a disability.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, if we know well in advance, we do have ADA accommodations for that.
Okay, and would you have like tips for like what the candidate could do approaching the interview, knowing that they might have either if they are a neurodivergent candidate or if they have a disability, what might be suggestions you would have for how they could approach the interview going into
So
this?
it all depends. If there is a hearing disability, then we approach it differently. If somebody cannot, any other disabilities, it all depends in what kind of disability is there that we can address. But we do address those disabilities. We do pay attention to that.
Okay, thank you. I guess as a next question then, how often do internships translate to a full-time position at the company? And
I
maybe
would
as a we'll start with that one.
Yeah, I would say 60% of our interns are transitioned to full time. Um, that depends on the performance of the student during the internship, and we having a position available at that point when the candidate graduates. So 60% of the time we do hire our interns, and our intention is to have internship is to make them a uh,
Yes.
full-time employee of ASML. That is our main intention.
All right, and as a follow-up question to that, what would an intern be expected to accomplish in their internship? I know it's kind of a broad question. There might be different internships, but like broadly speaking, what might be the expectations?
Well, it's a 13-week program. From what I hear from hiring managers, what they want them to do is how well they're accustomed to the technology here. I think that's the biggest thing during that 13 weeks that they're going to evaluate, and that's going to determine your future. I have filled a couple internships with people who were here last year because they adapted to the technology very well. They understood how important the technology is we do. Uh, but during that 13-week period, that's the biggest thing they're going to focus on is how well the student takes in the technology and understand it.
Also at ASML, we make sure that we have a mentor for every intern that we hire. So the mentor and the intern, they always work together, collaborate, understand what they want to do, and how to do, what to do. So everything goes through the mentor. So there is no ambiguity that is seen anywhere. So it's a very clear cut what job responsibilities and the role when an intern comes to do the summer internship.
Okay, if someone is applying for an ASML internship, or if they're considering applying for one, is there something that they could say like I did an internship with ASML for 13 weeks and I got to do blank? Is there like are there examples of accomplishments that ASML interns could tout or like I don't know if you have any examples of like some great work.
Yeah, I mean, ASML is a leader in the semiconductor industry. Okay, there's a technology out there now called multi-beam, which is the latest cutting edge technology out there to test the chips. And we just shipped the first products of multi-beam to Intel, TSMC, and Samsung. That intern can say they worked on multi-beam technology, which is a growth from the current e-beam technology that other companies do. Right now, ASML is the only one with the product out in the market with multi-beam.
Yeah.
So we're ahead of the curve, and that's what the interns will be able to say that they got a chance to work with, which will make them much more marketable to our competitors if we don't hire you.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Uh, sort of a technical question about the interviews or about the internships you're hiring for. Are there any particular graduation years you're looking for? What's the ideal range?
So ideally, we look for the candidates to be graduating in the subsequent year. But that doesn't stop us from, if somebody, students have really done good research work and has some prior experience into the same field, then even if we don't, we have interns that have interned for 3 years, 3 summers, and then we have hired them. So, we have always returning interns back to us. So there is no, we don't really, there will be no gap. We won't decline any candidate because of the year. Even if it is 3 years later, we still will look at the resume of the candidate.
Thank you. Here's another follow-up question about the application process. To recruiters, how important are referrals? Like, what differentiates a candidate who's referred to you versus a candidate who maybe just applies directly through the website or through an event like this?
Uh, so I will answer these questions. We get tons of referrals, but it doesn't stop us. The referrals don't stop us from looking at the resume. If we find some resume which is really exceptionally good, who aligns with what we have done, so we still go ahead and look at the applicants, even if we have a referral resume. So the people have the notion that only the referrals get a job. I would say no, because even when there are candidates, I have resumes on hand, which is referred, I still go and look at the applicants who has applied for the positions.
Thank you. On the subject of the questions are going to be all over the place, and I'm just kind of answering
Yeah.
these in the order
Yeah.
makes sense.
Mhm.
Regarding the internships, this is an important question I think that applies to a lot of students. Does ASML offer visa sponsorship for full-time roles? And perhaps are internships available for OPT, CPT?
Yes, we have a whole immigration team. We hire H1s on F1 visa. We transition them to H1. From F1 to H1, we do O1 visas. We have, I think I just hired 3 candidates and did their O visa. We do L2 EADs. So we do sponsor, and we don't charge for any visas. It's free for the uh,
Free for you.
yes, it's free, the visa service. So we do, we are very sensitive to the immigration issues, and we make sure that we do visas for all the students that required visa.
Thank you. Here's another great question. That's when it comes to like what students balance on their resumes regarding their work experience and their projects, uh, how much would you recommend that they weight the projects versus the work experience? Should they give more focus on the projects and experience? How would you recommend that they, or rather, which one does ASML give more credence or interest in?
For internship?
I don't think the question specified. We could say like if it differs between jobs and internships, then maybe that's a good distinction to know.
Okay, internships, we focus on the projects. Downright to it. I'm looking at what projects you've worked on. So is the hiring manager or the team member who's leading the search. It's what projects that have you worked on.
And also work experience to a certain degree, what kind of work you have done. So we also like to see that. So it's both, combination of both. It's better you show what you have done as in your work experience and also in research. So it's not one, it's not one or either or. You have to show both what you have done. It is like you are selling yourself. So your resume talks about you. So please mention whatever you have done on your resume.
This is an important part. On your projects or your work experience, please list what technology you're using in that project. We do know that people on their resume, they list, what skills they know or what they know, period. Put it in the project. You were using C to develop the programs here. You were coding in C here, or you're using Python here. Put it where you've been using the project.
I think we just got a great relevant question just now on the subject of projects. Suppose that a person is working on an ongoing project. Uh, well, number one, would that still be of interest to ASML if they're in the middle of a project that they're working on, and if they are in the middle of a project, what would be the best way to convey that in the resume?
Well, if they're working on a project, you definitely would like to know about it, especially if it's relative to the position that they're interviewing or going for. Make sure you list what you're doing on the project and what skill set you're using on that project.
Thank you. Uh, I think I'm getting caught up on a few questions here. If I haven't addressed any questions here, please let me know in the chat. But this might be a good question to ask in case we run out of time for this event. Uh, if students have any follow-up questions or want to connect with you in other ways, are you all available on LinkedIn?
Yes, Kevin Hall, ASML.
T. DeMello, ASML.
I might put that in the chat here. So we got Kevin
There's a lot of
Hall.
Kevin Halls out there, so just
ASML, yes.
put ASML after my name, and then I'll pop up. You'll
And
see.
Kitty, how might I spell your name?
Kitty DMELLO, DeMello.
DEMALO?
No, let's go all over. It's D as in David, M as in mother, E as in England, L as in Larry, Larry Orange, DeMello.
And I do agree with the advice that because many people will have multiple of the same name, it will definitely help to put in the company within
ASML.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's helped me a number of times when connecting with employers. So
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend that for doing a search on LinkedIn for Evan and Kitty.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got. Oh, here's a great one. So suppose a lot of students have already applied for internships already with ASML, or they applied to one already. Would it help to, if they want to apply for another internship, should they use a modified resume? Should they use the same resume? What would be the best way to approach, I've applied for an internship. How do I apply for another?
Same, same resume.
Change resume. No.
Because when you do apply, we'll be able to see what other positions you applied to. And we don't want to see different resumes for different one. Managers would not want to see that. Try and keep it the same. And when you do apply, it's gonna allow you to only put in one resume. But you can apply to 5 different jobs with that resume.
Okay, so as a follow-up question to that, then, if a student is expecting to apply to multiple internships, well, number one, would ASML be okay with a student applying to multiple internships at once, or is it just
Yes.
stick to one?
Yes.
No, if they accept and they accepted I mean, if they have got an offer letter from one position, then they should not apply. But if they are still interviewing, they can apply for multiple positions.
Of course, makes sense.
Because we're going to be able to see if I like a candidate, I'm going to be able to see, oh, Kitty has the same candidate and Kitty is making that person an offer.
Offer, yeah.
But if my manager likes the candidate too, and who's interviewed, and we want to make him an offer or her an offer, we're only going to send one offer. I'm going to talk with Kitty. I'm going to say, hey, we're going to leave it up to the candidate. Hey, we want you to join on this team. This team wants you to join, but you're going to have to pick which one you want to go for. And you'll get
Terrific.
an offer letter.
And I would assume then that if a student is interested in applying for multiple internships, that then the resume would probably have to be tailored in a way that's applicable to the multiple of them.
No,
Not necessarily.
No, we don't like to tell, the resume has to be consistent, like the same resume. We don't like the resumes to be changed.
Because you'll be in one profile in our applicant tracking system.
Right.
You have one profile. And so there won't be different, we don't want to see different resumes.
Right, general resume.
Yeah,
If applying to more than one internship.
correct.
Thank you. Question on the reference to projects, because that's been brought up on the resumes. Would it be recommended to dedicate maybe 2 or 3 lines to describing the project in detail? Should they just have a GitHub link? Should it be a mix of both? What would be the best way to refer to projects on a resume?
I mean, see, when we are looking at the resumes, we won't have time to go and look at the GitHub link, right? So when a recruiter is looking at the resume, I want to know exactly what technology you have worked or what kind of projects you have done for, rather than opening a link. So, as I said, we have max 20 seconds to browse a resume. So whatever you have done, I think it is nice to articulate on your resume and be specific what you have done. That will be an easier way for us to look at the resume.
Yeah, that's for us. Well, if you get past us,
Yeah, then you
take it
can
to the manager,
then you can give the
then
link.
the links
Yeah.
will come into play.
Yeah.
Because then the manager will be able to look at it, we'll look at it. Other team members on the manager's team will probably click on the link.
Thank you. I think I'm approaching the end for the questions we've gotten in the chat. If anyone else wants to ask any additional questions, we'll be happy to take them. We have a few minutes left in the hour. So for Kevin and Kitty, are there any topics, remaining topics you think you'd like to go over that you could think of that would be relevant to students' interests should they want to apply for ASML?
We covered it all. I would just say make sure you keep coming back to us, going back to the site, because it changes day to day on the
Changes.
career site.
And don't be afraid to apply, because as I said, we don't encourage only referrals, we encourage applicants, and we do look at your resume.
Wonderful. I think I do have like one last question that I think would be a good one to have on the subject of resumes, getting the word out there. So there's many different things to have in the resume, and I'm seeing like a list of like possible things you have, which is coursework, skills, experience, and projects. Given these subjects, what would be the best way to order them on a resume, on an application? Like what's most important to ASML?
On the internship side is projects. That's what we look at first. If you list a skill, we want to see where you use that skill. Of course, education up top. For us and some of the groups, we like to see education, then projects. Then we'll look at your skills.
Always highlight your education first.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty consistent. And I think I even heard in a previous from other recruiters like this same advice of making sure that if you list your skills, that it is backed up by the projects that you're working on.
Right.
Maybe even like spell out how it's related.
Right.
We did have Lizette in the chat. Thank you so much, directing us to the URL for the asml.com/careers, where the internships we're talking about today are being posted.